Walking out to the greatest showman.
Influencer boxing, popularized by the Paul brothers and KSI in the late 2010s, the space has evolved into an entire sub-industry in and of itself, supported by an ever-growing fan base, a plethora of new boxing promotions and events springing up on a weekly basis, a cluster of content creators and influencers stepping inside the squared circle to prove their valor. The influencer boxing scene has never been more financially lucrative than it is right now, with Jake Paul estimated to have made an eye-watering $100 million in purses alone in just the last couple of years. But where there is success, there is always failure. Enter the subject of today's video, iDubbbz, aka Ian Jomha, and his wife Anisa Jomha, and their now former charity boxing event Creator Clash, the third iteration of which has recently been cancelled and brought about a shitstorm of backlash aimed towards its under-fire organisers, the aforementioned Ian and Anisa. So what the hell has happened? Well, let's take a trip down memory lane and find out. Ian has had a long and fragrant history on the platform dating all the way back to 2012, and like many other long-standing commentary channels, he made his foray into content creation through a variety of gameplay commentary videos.
Oh, punctured. And this time we are going to click on Raider Patrol and see what this is all about. Alright.
His early days on YouTube would be marred with mediocrity, as he would fail to capture a consistent audience, and much of this earlier content has now been erased from the annals of the web. From mid-2014 onwards though, Ian would take a more edgy tone, beginning with his Kickstarter crap series of videos.
Yo, what's up guys, my name's Ricardo, and I'm involved with level organization and recuperation here at Panda Studios.
The format would typically see Ian dismantling and critiquing a poorly thought out Kickstarter campaign or frivolous product from the popular crowdfunding platform, generally with a satirical undertone present. Needless to say, the format proved to be successful with the masses and it instantly elevated Ian to a newfound status. From this platform, he would initiate a range of new video series, including future channel staples such as bad unboxings and epic food reviews, but it would be his magnum opus Content Cop series of videos which would truly solidify iDubbbz as a household name. Initially, Content Cop began in an unremarkable fashion, and Ian would target low-hanging fruit of the time such as reaction channels, food reviewers, who were already a common target of many of the quote-unquote exposed videos which were beginning to gain popularity back in 2015. This would all change on the 5th of May 2016, however, when iDubbbz released the now infamous Content Cop on the controversial Drama Alert host Keemstar.
Alpha Bravo Niner, this is Wolf Mother. What's hand in Wolf Pack? You're gonna want to get down here and see this. In fact, bring a big backup. Yeah, bring in the big gun.
And this is kind of just one of those videos and moments in time where you kind of just had to be there to sort of experience it, as it truly just helped set Ian apart from many other creators within the same space, as rather than just take the sort of typical moral grandstand approach to his criticisms, he instead highlighted Keem's hypocrisies, and he did so in a very satirical and humorous way. The Content Cop format would prove to be immensely successful for Ian, and he would go on to target many other controversial figures within the YouTube sphere, such as Leafy is Here, Tana Mongeau, and Rice Gum.
Asian Jake Paul.
And through this, he would develop a reputation as being almost untouchable due to his outright confident approach and his ability to display a high level of self-awareness to his own character flaws, while just presenting a very well-researched video with high production value. But following on from the Rice Gum Content Cop and its follow-up Content Deputy in mid-2017, Ian would drop the format and his trademark edgy demeanour almost entirely, seemingly motivated by the change in YouTube landscape, which was becoming significantly stricter around its anti-bullying and harassment policy guidelines after the adpocalypse of 2017. In retrospect, Ian's change of focus is often now attributed to his then girlfriend, now wife Anisa Jomha, though I'm not entirely convinced that it's accurate, at least for the time when they got together, as the two met all the way back at TwitchCon 2016, and Anisa would open up in a Q&A video shortly after and discussed how she would be supporting iDubbbz with his future content, which would of course include the Tana Mongeau and the Rice Gum Content Cops, which were obviously some of the more edgy ones, let's be real.
Ian meet. I was in San Diego for TwitchCon, and I was on my Twitter feed, and it was when Ian was just spamming his Twitter feed with something about Leafy and Max Mofo backstabbing him like as a meme, and he was just like, it was like tweet after tweet after tweet. So I was like, okay, this individual's bored. I know he lives in San Diego. maybe he wants to hang out because anything's better than like sitting in this hotel all day. So we ended up messaging each other,
and she also delved into some of the backlash that she had received since the relationship had begun.
I've been getting a lot of stuff because of dating Ian. Some positive, some negative. It just comes with the territory of dating somebody that has a fan base.
At least at this time though, Ian's fans seemed supportive of his newfound companionship, and the future was looking bright for the pair. Whatever the case though, from 2018 onwards, Ian's content saw a drastic shift away from the edgy and rash persona, which had made him popular and a face of the free speech movement. With Content Cop out of the picture for now, Ian needed a new modus operandi, and he found this in the form of a documentary video titled Full Force, which currently sits as the most viewed video on his channel at 24 million views. The project would have Ian travelling out to Michigan to document the lifestyle and inner workings of the relatively unknown YouTuber at the time, Airsoft Fatty, who is a content creator with, let's just say, a particular passion for Star Wars. The flow of the video focuses on Fatty's poor quality of life and his escapades with his small circle of friends and their obsessions with Star Wars and weed. Overall, not gonna lie, it's a pretty good documentary. It was worth the watch at the time, and it was pretty well received, and it highlighted a sustainable foundation from where Ian could propel his channel forward.
What is going full force?
That is where, and the way I define it, someone is treating it as if they're about to die, and they are putting everything behind it.
His core audience at this stage were still relatively supportive, but that would all change when Anisa made the bold decision to announce her OnlyFans to Twitter in 2020, leading to a war amongst Ian's audience, with many fans now turned detractors, accusing him of being a bit of a c***. In reality, I feel like what most people were actually getting at was just the influence that Anisa seemed to be having on Ian's character, with many suspecting his change in attitude and approach to content creation was likely due to Anisa's sway behind the scenes.
Yes.
Commentary YouTubers have no idea what it is to work a normal job.
Ian, unfazed by the inflammatory backlash, would eventually respond to the situation in the now infamous video titled Sex Work, iDubbbz Complains.
The world would be a much better place if people like Philip Bezos, I don't know if that's his son's actual name, but if Philip Bezos did OnlyFans, that would be a perfectly fine thing to do.
This response did little to quell the outrage, in all honesty, and Ian would find himself victim to a mockery campaign on Twitter. Nonetheless, the situation eventually simmered down, and Ian got to work on a new project. Ice Cream Man wouldn't capture the same level of success as Full Force, as the subject Dax Flame lacked the charisma and charm of Fatty, and the backlash which had occurred during Anisa's OnlyFans drama was still smouldering in the background.
Really depends on when they be able to be successful in our law school program.
Y'all like Minecraft?
But the project was by no means a failure, amassing an impressive 12 million views. Ian's next subject, however, would prove to be the format's downfall, as he set his sights on Sam Hyde, a controversial online figure who was known for his online trolling antics and his sketch comedy group $1 Million Extreme, which actually had a run on Adult Swim in 2016 in the form of $1 Million Extreme Presents World Peace. Despite being quite popular, it was cancelled after 4 months after its inception due to the group's connections to the alt-right. Fast forward 5 years and Sam Hyde's popularity had somewhat faded, and he likely saw the iDubbbz documentary as an opportunity to push himself back into the spotlight.
It doesn't even matter. I think I probably kind of like overwhelmed him. He was on Twitter. He was on Twitter trying to line up fights with people. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yo, can you get me in there? Let me get a fight with Fantano. And I think I bothered him too much. Something like that. I wasn't like an asshole or anything, but I think I probably just texted him too many times. Anyway.
Now, with Ian's previous subjects, Airsoft Fatty and Dax Flame, he had managed to maintain a strong element of control over the narrative, in part due to his superior intellect and the rapport he had established with the subjects during the production of the videos. Sam Hyde, on the other hand, was far more elusive, focused and socially adept, and he had a history of conducting and instigating elaborate trolling campaigns. He's even sometimes been compared compared to Ian from his 2016 days for their shared ability to use irony as a means to confuse their opponents and back them into a corner. To put it simply, Sam wasn't going to be manipulated or directed towards the narrative that Ian was hoping to present. After Ian had wrapped up filming Sam and his team, there was seemingly no video in sight. It quickly became obvious that things hadn't exactly gone according to the plan. These suspicions would be confirmed when Sam Hyde released his own version of the documentary, and it was discovered that Ian had been the victim of an elaborate gaslighting campaign.
Remove any face covering before placing the oxygen mask over your nose and mouth. As part of our clean commitment, everyone must wear a face mask over your nose and mouth and secured under your chin and neck during the flight.
Honestly, looking back at all of this, some of the ideas that they had planned were just downright hilarious, with them considering instigating an argument in front of Ian over whether their auto-tuned rap song is in the correct musical key, and leaving a fake shit on the bathroom floor.
So fucking funny. Oh, and then the fake girlfriend.
The fake girlfriend, she shaved her head for this. She looked fucking totally wrecked. I paid her to shave her head, and she was like totally believable. She was like acting drugged out, and
it seemed this time Ian had truly met his match, and with Sam's version of events out in the wild, Ian's hand would be forced and he would eventually drop the documentary titled Getting Away With It. It becomes apparent that Ian had gone into the whole endeavour with a grounded mindset and had intended to showcase the inner workings of Sam's life behind the scenes, whereas Sam had wanted to make a more comedic documentary. The events would begin with Ian visiting Sam's office and meeting his drug-addicted girlfriend Danny, who had this really odd chemistry with Ian throughout, and they even just sort of like resemble each other in this weird way.
The whole environment was weird, but when it came to Danny, it was just sad.
Okay, so yeah, if you just like stop smoking, your blood pressure goes like all the way down, can't like give a hug, you know, like blood just stop flowing and you're dry.
Obviously, the audience would already mostly be in the know thanks to Sam Hyde's own video on the situation, but from Ian's perspective in the moment, he probably thought he was capturing some content gold. Needless to say, the gaslighting campaign ensued, and Ian was slingshot to an outdoor crack den for some boxing fun. The grand revelation would come in the form of this very awkward interview, which seemed to catch Ian just completely off guard, and it takes him a hot minute to realise what exactly is even going on.
Well, my name is Gormedios, and I'm a 400-year-old vampire, but I actually appear to be 13.
And it's quite frankly comedy gold. Ian, completely taken aback by the revelation, and you just clearly get the impression that he just isn't happy about the whole thing. The reaction as a whole wouldn't necessarily be overwhelmingly negative towards iDubbbz, as his fans had mostly seen the funny side of the situation, like Sam had predicted, but it definitely highlighted Ian's insecurities in a way that he'd never dealt with before, and he had been completely outmaneuvered by another YouTuber for arguably the first time, at least in this way.
He's donated around $5,000 to the Daily Stormer, which is a neo-Nazi website, and you don't really do that as a joke.
This would mark the end of the documentary format on his channel. It seemed apparent that Sam had irked Ian and Anisa both, and he would prove to be a further nuisance to the pair as time went on. Ian and Anisa's next venture would see them embark on what his supporters say is a long-held passion of his, and his detractors say is an idea he in part stole from Sam Hyde, with that being, of course, influencer boxing. Whatever the case, Ian had been floating the idea of boxing Rice Gum since around 2021, after Rice called him out on Drama Alert back in 2018.
You really do, and the only person I could really think of, and I don't hate him, you know what I mean, at all, but I mean, he did drop like a 30-minute vid on me and just has a lot to say about me, and I feel like it would be really, really interesting if me and iDubbbz were to box. I think it would be interesting.
And it's through this interaction that eventually Creator Clash originated, as in 2021, Rice Gum would reach out to Anisa in a Twitter DM suggesting that Ian was hiding from him. Ian would respond to this in a video suggesting that the shoe was actually on the other foot.
The boxing promoter and I reach out to Rice Gum and we say, we're ready. We're ready to set up this event. And what does Rice Gum do? He ghosts the boxing promoter repeatedly. He ghosts me repeatedly. And then when I finally am able to contact him, he says things like, oh, my neck is sore.
The fight with Rice Gum would never actually materialise, however, with Rice stating on Drama Alert that he wasn't interested anymore. But Ian would eventually find a new opponent, and Creator Clash was officially announced for the 14th of May 2022. And the event itself was billed with over 20 fighters on the card, and some interesting and unique showdowns such as Dad vs Mark Watson from Game Grumps, Aaron Hansen and Harley from Epic Mealtime, and of course Ian versus Dr. Mike as the main event. Ian's old buddy Sam Hyde made attempts to get involved through an offer to box left-wing political streamer Hassan Piker.
My target right now is Hassan Piker. Have you heard of that guy?
But neither Ian nor Hassan were receptive to the idea.
He's not a super cooperative guy. He's very unpredictable. So involving him in our event just isn't a good idea. I think most people would.
Business risk.
I think most people would understand that.
Yeah.
Sam would still, however, manage to get himself involved through Harley from Epic Mealtime, who Sam offered to train in a 2-week boot camp, which Harley accepted, and Sam had every intention of witnessing his protege in action at the event itself. Sam's attendance would never actually materialise, however, as he would be barred from the event allegedly only a few hours before it began, despite having front row seat tickets, which apparently he was never refunded for either. And it would be at this point where Sam Hyde turned from a playful nuisance into the pair's biggest detractor.
That's poisonous. That relationship is poisonous. She's like his entertainment handler. Like she's his fucking career manager now or something. She's got to go, man.
Creator Clash itself went ahead without a hitch, and in all honesty, it was a very good show, and a number of the fights were quite interesting encounters, and for the most part, entertaining. It would be fair to say that overall it was a resounding success, a sellout at the Youngling Center in Tampa, Florida, and over 100,000 pay-per-view sales, with a very impressive $1.3 million raised for charity. You'd honestly have been very hard-pressed just to find somebody being overly critical of the event itself, even people who were previously detractors.
One of the coolest events in YouTube history just went down this weekend.
It's the best boxing event that a YouTuber has thrown on yet.
This event was just amazing.
Creator Clash is a W for sure.
One aspect I did find quite intriguing, something that I don't think's been brought up too much after the fact, is that Ian made multiple references to a documentary covering the production and much of the behind the scenes footage of the lead up to the event and some of the training and whatnot, but for whatever reason that has never actually materialised. Nevertheless, given the success of Creator Clash, a follow-up event was expected and it would be announced for the following year. But for all of this success that would come with the first Creator Clash, the follow-up event, Creator Clash 2, would turn out to be a complete disaster. Creator Clash 2 would be billed in a similar fashion to its predecessor, with many of the favourites from the first card returning, including Dad and Harley Morenstein, and some interesting new additions such as Chris Raygun, and surprisingly to many, Froggy Fresh, an old-timer on the platform who had mostly produced comedic rap videos, and he had been on an on-again, off-again hiatus of sorts since 2018. Despite the reasonably solid-looking card that seemed to lack any real heavy hitters in terms of current popularity and draw, the initial excitement from Ian's audience was pretty strong, but cracks were beginning to appear right from the off. It became clear that things weren't going to go as smoothly as the first event, with drama on the horizon. The boxing promotion Happy Punch, co-owned by Keemstar, tweeted out a post showcasing Froggy Fresh training with its other co-owner Sam Hyde. He sent into a meltdown on Twitter, and a quote-unquote supporter account named the Pied Piper, later proven to be controlled by Anisa's mother, made a tweet insinuating that Froggy's removal from the event was imminent. Froggy would respond to this himself in a Twitter video, taking offence to the usage of the word imp, though it seemed apparent that he was treating the whole situation as just a back and forth banter, and I don't think he really expected to be removed from the event at all.
I going onto my Twitter today. What done I see? Anissa's mom is saying, hoping that somebody replaces that imp. Now I go into Google to see what imp was, and they said it's a small devil. Now I got saved by the Lord and baptized when I was about 7, so I don't know what she's talking about. But I can tell you this is a charity event.
Ian and Anisa, on the other hand, were not happy, and just 3 weeks before the event was scheduled to take place, the Creator Clash Twitter account announced the following: there has been a change in the lineup and Froggy Fresh will no longer be fighting against Chris Ray-Gun. We will announce his replacement in the coming days. Aside from this statement, no reason was specified, leaving the situation wide open to speculation, with many assuming the removal had related to past statements Froggy had made concerning Anisa's OnlyFans.
On April 15th, if I don't hurt you beyond what anybody could have imagined, I will be so disappointed in myself that I will subscribe to Anisa's OnlyFans.
Froggy's removal sent the internet into a frenzy, with spectators and creators alike feeling it was extremely harsh to remove the fighter just 3 weeks before the event after 10 months of training for nothing more than some ridiculous lighthearted jokes.
They kicked a boxer off because either he's friends with Sam Hyde or he made a joke about iDubbbz's fat wife's OnlyFans account.
Mm-hmm.
So that, like, they kicked him off 3 weeks away from doing the event for like what seemed like the most harmless thing, or the most like petty.
In spite of the backlash, and even with an offer of a 100k donation to charity on the table from Gideon to have Froggy reinstated, Ian and Anisa were unrelenting, and William Haynes of SourceFed was announced as Froggy's replacement to face Chris Ray-Gun, which in all honesty seems a completely unfair matchup given Will's several inch height advantage and pretty clear weight advantage, and this would of course translate into Chris Ray-Gun getting absolutely pummeled on the night.
As William comes forward, right hand again. He's catching him on the chin.
To make matters even worse, Froggy announced in another Twitter video that Ian and Anisa had threatened to sue him if he failed to return the 15k he had been paid for training, which he was unable to do as he had already spent the money on training, and he had put his own career on hiatus in order to train for the event.
They wanted me to pay back the $15,000 that they sent me over the last 5 months for training, travel equipment, and stuff like that, and also like a vow of silence on the situation. And if I signed that, they would drop any potential to sue for what they believe are damages that the event has incurred. So in other words, like, we're not going to sue you if you pay back the 15 grand and you shut up about it. But like, if you don't sign this, then we can pursue to sue you based on damages that I brought to the event.
Okay. Thankfully, the internet would come to Froggy's rescue. Mutaha of Some Ordinary Gamers offered to cover Froggy's legal fees should Ian and Anisa initiate litigation. With the internet now firmly standing against Ian and Anisa, spearheaded by Sam Hyde, the silence from the pair would be deafening, and it would leave many of the fighters on the card in a pretty awkward position. The likes of Dad and Harley Morenstein came out in defense of Ian and Anisa, only to be lambasted by the pair's detractors and fans of Sam Hyde. The backlash goes so bad, in fact, that Dad actually deleted his Twitter account. Eventually, though, Creator Clash would finally issue a response, if it can even qualify as that, but as outside of suggesting several violations of the contract terms that had been breached by Froggy, there was still no specifics given. They did, however, suggest that they had made several unsuccessful attempts to address the violations with Froggy and had made the collective decision to move forward without him. In a call concerning the potential that Froggy would be sued by Ian, Harley would defend Ian and Anisa again, suggesting that any legal threats being suggested by Froggy were completely untrue, a decision which would actually prove to be premature.
Try to sue him? No, they're not suing him. They just don't
Dude,
want
I'll
him
even
to,
address that.
They probably don't
can
want
I address
him
the
to
tax first?
disparage the event.
Harley,
I'm 15 or 17K.
Nevertheless, no lawsuit seemed imminent as of yet, and Creator Clash 2 went ahead as planned on the 15th of April 2023. Honestly, the night itself panned out in a similar fashion to the first Creator Clash, with some reasonably entertaining fights without anything truly setting the world alight. Despite Ian's 2+ years of boxing training by this stage, he would be unable to secure a win for himself. Now, on the surface, the event seemed to have performed similarly to the first one, but this time the much larger Amalai Arena stadium had been hired. The reality of the situation would become painfully clear, however, in the not too distant future, and it certainly wouldn't be good news. Before we get to that though, Ian would finally address the Froggy Fresh drama in a video where he weirdly spends half of the runtime talking about unrelated sex workers. He does, however, confirm that Froggy was kicked from the event for his association with Sam Hyde, and not due to any of the remarks he had made concerning Anisa.
The main reason Froggy was kicked from the card was for collaborating with Sam Hyde. And, for anyone who's been following the story, that's, fairly obvious. Froggy has explained, his side of the story multiple times. And unfortunately, he's been perpetuating a narrative that it's about OnlyFans or that it's about Anisa's mom. And that's extremely deceptive because he knows why he was kicked from the card. The one indication I gave him was Sam Hyde, and I wasn't unclear about that. Anyone who's mentioning the fact that Harley trained with Sam Hyde for the year previous, that was before Sam was saying this about my wife.
I don't think so, Anisa. Bitch. Ho. Fucking Anisa. What an ugly piece of shit. But look how beat she is. Oh, nice jack-o'-lantern teeth.
That's like
I can't wait to see what she looks like when she's 32. Her teeth look like a pumpkin head. It's the Anisa Jomha hole stretcher. I'm sending this to Anisa's OnlyFans. It goes directly into charity.
Yeah.
Everybody hates him and his wife's a slut.
So yeah, now that this guy is on the daily insulting my wife, I think it's pretty fair to, not want to associate with him in any way.
Ian also showcased a set of messages between himself and Froggy, highlighting that the situation hadn't been as black and white as Froggy had led on, with him clearly coming across as maybe a little bit intentionally hostile and difficult to work with, rather than just working towards a solution. Ian further went on to explain that he had no intentions of pursuing legal action.
By the way, we weren't suing Froggy. We have no interest in going to court over $15,000. We wanted that $15,000 back, but, he wasn't giving it to us. So we have to leave it at that. We're not suing him.
However, Froggy would respond to this on Twitter and provide a letter showcasing that a legal threat had definitely been hanging in the balance. Whatever the case, no litigation will ever come forth. Ian uploaded a video titled The Harsh Reality of Creator Clash 2, where to the surprise of many, he disclosed that the event had not performed nearly as well as expected, and it actually operated at a loss of over $250,000.
For Creator Clash 2, despite it being a fun event, and despite good fights and a lot of creators sacrificing a lot of time, money, and energy, we lost $250,000 on the event. The way that this typically works for anyone who's unaware is that once our expenses are paid off for the event, like all the minimums of broadcasting, the hotel, travel, all that sort of stuff, once that's all paid off, then we can start paying the charities. Unfortunately, we didn't even reach the break-even point.
Now, it was abundantly clear that Ian and Anisa had grossly mishandled the running of the event, as many were left scratching their heads wondering how they had failed to return a profit from 50k pay-per-view sales, and clearly a large number of in-person ticket sales, judging by the photographs of the event. It was also questioned what the need was for giving each of the fighters 20k for training, especially given that it seemed unlikely all of the fighters had actually undergone 10 months of training, judging by their appearances on the night. Another point of contention was the fact that Ian had also bought out an entire luxury hotel for the fighters to stay in for 2 nights to process their trauma, which in all truth just seems a bit out of touch and ridiculous for a charity event.
We also had events the day before the fight and the day after the fight, so that fighters and friends and family could come together and process their trauma. That was sort of paramount for me because the first year we did the fight and then I went to bed. I got the shit kicked out of me by Dr. Mike, and then I went to bed, and then I woke up, the hotel was empty, and then I got on a flight and traveled 5 hours with my face completely swollen back to Seattle, and I was like, that was cool, that was so worth it. There was nothing. There was no processing my trauma. There was no talking to anyone and relating about the experience afterward. Everyone was gone.
Interestingly, Anisa was silent on her end, despite being more than happy to previously take most of the credit for the management of the event. When things were looking a little sweeter, Ian would be left to pick up most of the flack. Overall, Creator Clash 2 has to go down as a massive failure, and if there was any saving grace, it would be in the 24-hour live stream where Ian was at least able to raise just shy of $170,000 for charity, while that would still be a far cry from the 1.2 million raised the previous year for Creator Clash 1. Or even the 250k they'd lost for Creator Clash 2. Many were now left wondering whether a Creator Clash 3 would ever materialise at all. With the complete mishandling of Creator Clash 2 by Ian and Anisa, they had now been left with a bitter taste in their mouths. To the surprise of many, Creator Clash 3 will be announced on the 29th of January 2025 on Twitter, followed by an announcement video on iDubbbz's main channel.
Can you hear that? I think it's supposed to spin. Oh, it is spinning. Creator Clash is back.
This time around, the event would take a different structure, with the charity component being separate from the event itself, to prevent a similar disaster to Creator Clash 2, where the event raised no money for charity, but Ian and Anisa, the fighters and their friends and families, still got to live at large at the pre and post-fight gala events. Unfortunately, these lessons would seem to be the only lessons learned, though, as Ian's still dead set on the card being mostly made up of niche creators and seemingly lacking any real big hitters outside of LA Beast, who was mainlining the event alongside Harley Morenstein, set to return for the third time. Ian himself had dropped off the card, and some past favourites such as Dad were set to return, but the card was mostly made up by creators who were relatively unknown to the masses, or were known rather for their association to larger creators such as Lena Ayad from the H3 podcast. Speaking of which, Ethan, the owner of the H3 podcast and a longtime friend of Ian and Anisa's, was on the receiving end of an online harassment campaign, mostly in relation to his ongoing rivalry with left-wing political streamer Hassan Piker. And I'll give you the short version of events for this because it could be a topic for a video in and of itself. Ethan and Hassan, who had previously been friendly and had shared a podcast together, Leftovers, had fallen out over the Israeli-Palestine conflict, with Ethan reluctant to take a full anti-Israeli position pertaining to his Jewish ancestry and because of his wife Hila being Israeli and having served in the IDF as a conscript in her youth, which was a point of contention for Hassan. This had led Ethan to release the Hassan Piker content nuke on his main channel, the fallout of which has led to an all-out war between the two audiences and wider circles of the two creators, which is still ongoing as of the time of me writing this video. iDubbbz, a Hassan orbiter with a particular distaste for Ethan, had platformed another Hassan orbiter by the name of Bad Empanada on her livestream, and he made some pretty distasteful accusations surrounding the welfare of Ethan and Hila's children and pets.
He lets his dogs shit all over his mansion, and he just leaves the shit on the floor, something that is probably related to the fact that his former housekeeper is suing him for a number of different reasons. So I would assume he doesn't actually have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So now the house is just like covered in dog shit. And he has kids, and his kids like crawl into the dog shit, and God forbid, I don't know what they do with it. I don't know if they eat it or if it's just from like contact with it with their hands or something. But they contracted a parasite that I had previously never heard of in my life called Giardia from the dog shit that is all over his house.
Dude, how is it that like maybe once a week I look into what Ethan Klein's been up to, and every time I manage to find more and more terrible shit.
This is widely believed to be what instigated a fraudulent CBS call against Ethan and Hila, sending the former, understandably, into a frenzy on Twitter. Ethan at the time had been a long-time friend of Ian and Anisa's, even supporting them and promoting Creator Clash 2 during the peak of the backlash against the pair. Ethan had, again, understandably hoped for a comment of support or at least condemnation against those supporting the CBS call. He instead received nothing but silence. This was made worse by the fact that the call was widely believed to have originated from someone within the communities of Bad Empanada or iDubbbz, who Anisa and Ian followed on social media. Ethan issued an open response to Ian and Anisa on a podcast, and needless to say, he was not happy.
Fair weather friends who are so happy to be friends as long as they're getting something out of it.
Ian sucks for the same reason right now.
He could say something
Spineless. You're not my friend, and you never were, and you never will be. You never will be.
In possibly one of the most insane twists in this story, Ian would revive his old series Content Cop and go in very hard against his former ally.
What we do here is go back.
This wouldn't just be a hit piece either, it would be the ultimate betrayal, as Ian would team up with Hassan Piker and Denims for a segment in the video.
Wake up, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Ethan, wake up.
Wakey, wakey, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Wake up. Time to be awake, Ethan.
Wake up, Ethan.
This is no longer a dream. This is a nightmare. Wake up.
Ethan, the dumb bitch is telling you to wake up.
Wake up.
The overall focus of the video is criticism aimed towards Ethan's support of Israel and attitude towards Hassan. Towards the end of the video, there's this bizarre interaction between Ian and Kirk Honda of Psychology in Seattle, where Ian bursts into tears.
You know, I also see the dynamic of Ethan and Neil. Like, fuck, like, it's really hard to be a couple online and see people attacking your partner, and it's like, okay, like, if you come to their defense, that doesn't always help them, right? Sometimes that makes it worse for them.
He kind of just shows he's out of touch here, seemingly just oblivious to the fact that he's just spent an hour attacking the guy from almost every angle possible, and conveniently failed to mention the fraudulent CBS call. The Content Cop would also drop when Ethan was live streaming, and to say he seemed surprised would be a bit of an understatement.
Well, what happened? There's more bad news?
I do have some more bad news for you. Some breaking news. Your old friend iDubbbz just released a video.
Yeah.
It's about you.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Oh my God. That is no, it can't be.
Well.
It actually can't be. Holy fuck, dude.
It sure is.
Oh my God.
Now, the fallout from all of this would be catastrophic. Not for Ethan though, for Ian and Anisa. Timing of the Content Cop releasing only 7 weeks before Creator Clash 3 was scheduled to take place was just seen by almost everybody as selfish and terrible leadership, and even by some of the most diehard iDubbbz supporters. And this would begin a chain of events which would eventually see the event being completely cancelled. Longtime supporter and main eventer Harley Morenstein, who had relentlessly defended Ian and Anisa during Creator Clash 2, would be surprisingly the first to drop out of the event. He would later open up on an episode of PKA, explaining that he wasn't seeing eye to eye with Ian on his association with Hassan Piker.
It's like, I don't know if you guys caught the official Creator Clash fundraiser.
No.
They just did one with like Hassan, and it was him reacting to this video that Ethan made about him. So they're just like talking a lot about like the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas, and like, was there rapes on, and like, it's just all this. And I'm like, what's up with the boxing though? Like, what's going on with like the boxing? Like, I see what you're saying, and I see that he's like, you know, like I saw he was like gassing up North Korea a little bit.
Next to drop out would be Lena Ayad, pertaining to her association with the H3 podcast. And I have to be honest here, she truly deserved better from Ian and Anisa. She kind of really is one of the biggest victims in all of this. Nevertheless, the event was looking increasingly unlikely to be going ahead at all, with Ian becoming entangled in the H3 Hassan conflict and seemingly just uninterested in the damage that he was causing the fighters on the card. Eventually, Ian and Anisa would make the decision to completely step away from Creator Clash entirely.
Anisa and I have decided to step away from Creator Clash. We have relinquished control to our business partners who ran the previous 2 events. They're very capable. They know exactly what they're doing. They run events on a regular basis. The event is still happening. Anisa and I just don't have any financial ties. We don't have any ownership. We are You know, I think just going to be known as the founders.
This honestly just comes across like they were completely just abandoning the event, trying to relieve themselves of all of the accountability right when the whole thing was in tatters. To make matters worse, it would be discovered that the pair had planned to exert 34% of the profits should the event actually return a profit, which Ian himself confirmed in a Reddit post. Next to drop out was LA Beast, leaving the event without their main event, and it was looking increasingly unlikely that Creator Clash 3 was ever going to take place. Dad would actually come out and explain that things had been postponed until October, whilst the new organisers replaced the missing fighters on the card. Eventually though, further fighters would drop out, and on the 7th of July, a statement would be released confirming that the event would be cancelled, that those who had purchased tickets would be receiving a refund, any additional funds raised would be distributed to charity. Dad, who had previously relentlessly supported Ian and Anisa even through most of this, would finally come out in a video and disclose that things had been a complete mess behind the scenes, with Ian just unwilling to take advice and the event scene doomed from the get-go due to complete careless mismanagement.
Ian tells me, hey, I'm doing another content cop. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And he goes, yeah, it's on Ethan. And I was like, Ethan Klein? And he said, yeah, it's on Ethan Klein. And I thought, oh no, why would you do that? The reason I was so concerned by this, Ethan and I had a very big misunderstanding for Creator Clash 2 with our promotion for the fight. I'm not going to tell this story again. I've told it in the past, but like, everything's fine with Ethan and I. It's all done. We've talked and we've messaged and we're all good. So when Ethan and I made up, I was so relieved. This like huge weight came off my shoulders. I was like, okay, I'm not at odds with somebody. Then Ian tells me, before Creator Clash 3 is about to happen, oh, I'm putting out a hit piece on Ethan Klein. And I'm thinking, oh my God, dude, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to cause trouble? Because now I'm thinking, this is gonna ruin Creator Clash 3 and I'm gonna get screwed again. Yes, I can tell him I'm concerned. I truly thought it was a work. It was like a WWE promo thing where like they were gonna have a fake feud. They were gonna make up right before Creator Clash 3. Genius promotion. I watch a lot of wrestling though, so I probably was thinking incorrectly because that wasn't the case.
And with that, Creator Clash is no more. Well, at least not for now, as there has been a bidding war going down on Twitter, with Keemstar and Ethan Klein both allegedly interested in acquiring the rights to Creator Clash. That will be an interesting turn of events. For Ian and Anisa, however, the fallout has been cataclysmic. Both of their reputations are in complete tatters now. Not like they weren't already before Creator Clash 3, let's be honest. And the iDubbbz YouTube channel, which now focuses mostly on left-wing breadtube content, seems a far cry from the iconic criticism foundry that was once held in such high regard by the wider commentary communities on YouTube. Over the past month or so, Ian's fall-off has been far beyond what most could have even imagined. The views on his recent videos seem relatively consistent with his previous videos, but upon further inspection you will find that a substantial number of his viewers are there to simply hate. Now, Ian has always had his fair share of hate viewers, but I mean, this is taking the piss. The video titled "Are You Scared of Immigrants?" has one of the most insane comment sections I think I have ever seen on a popular YouTuber's channel who isn't actively being deplatformed, with comments like "Bro is quite literally lobotomized" and "Congrats on 6 million subs, been here since 7 million." And that's just the tame ones. The video itself highlights just how out of touch Ian is with reality as he steps into the shoes of a European for 19 minutes to advise us how we should feel about immigration over here.
Today's episode of iDubbbz Complains is all about immigration and xenophobia and racism and TikTok and the TikTokification of xenophobia. The interest in this topic was spurred on from a guy named Kurt Kaz. Now, this guy Kurt Kaz, he is a travel vlogger. So you would think with all of the traveling around the world, that would really open your mind to different cultures, different ways of life, and how we're all just people trying to live. You guys have heard of Rome in your history class. You never saw pictures like this. You saw beautiful things like the Colosseum, but now you have to see immigrants. And then you get to this guy who's like, all right, now that I've primed you, I'm gonna tell you how dangerous this street is that's adjacent to the farmer's market. Never mind the fact that none of you have any idea what this market is, what this street is.
The main issue I take with the video is that Ian misrepresents the true nature of the situation. The comments and clips he chooses to show, for the most part, highlight the more extreme narratives that some people choose to present, but this doesn't accurately represent the views of the majority of people in Europe. I feel like this comment highlights how people feel about this quite well. I'm a progressive rich guy living in California, and today I will lecture you Europeans about your own countries. The reaction to this video by the wider commentary community has been nuclear, to say the least.
Ah yes, the tactic of being self-aware so no one can point out that I'm behaving like an idiot. Masterful work, Ian. Guys, I know making a response video on people who clown on me is not the right move. Anyways, here's a video of me responding to the haters.
Ian's latest video, as of the time of me writing this, is titled Coming Clean, and it's Ian diving tits first into a bit of lolcowery, or in his own words, feeding the trolls.
Today, I'm going to be doing the thing that everyone tells you not to do, and that is feed the trolls. One of the more important things that I want to talk about is my relationship with Anisa. I love Anisa. I love everything about her. I've only grown to love her more with time, and a lot of people online don't see it that way. For me, it's very obvious. I thought more people would be able to catch on. I am quiet, stoic, not talkative. She is the opposite of that. She is loud, very talkative, social. People struggle to understand that dynamic, I think, especially me being a person who has made a career of talking online. So yes, Anisa will oftentimes, like in many relationships, be the more talkative one. We've been together for nearly 10 years, and all of it has been online for the public to see, and there are still people accusing her of cheating, accusing me of being in an abusive relationship. None of this is true, and there is no evidence for any of this except, like, I guess, body language experts coming on and being like, iDubbbz is being stoic here, therefore he's in hell.
Okay, hang on. Watch the change there. Watch the change there.
I don't know what the fuck that was. I have never gotten.
Look at Ian in this moment. Oh my God.
Like, he looks sad. No, he is disgusted at her. He's depressed.
It comes across to me like this is just Ian trying to cash in on the current drama surrounding himself by engaging with his detractors. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of value here to be gained, as there rarely ever is for a large popular content creator. All this feels like it's doing is opening himself up to further scrutiny, which some might argue is exactly what he wants. Ian has since followed up on Coming Clean with a live stream where he accuses the commentary channels covering him and Anisa of being obsessive and spreading lies. Overall, there isn't a lot of substance to this live stream. He basically just rambles on about the commentary community and declines. It's effectively just a less focused version of the video which he produced. It is also worth noting that he was also only streaming to 300 viewers. I think this just boils down to the fact that Ian isn't that great of a live streamer, and he just lacks the focus and charisma that other popular streamers seem to have in abundance. Needless to say, the future doesn't look bright for Ian or Anisa. It seems he may be planning another content cop, which many expect to be on the commentary community, but I guess we will just have to wait and see. I want to thank you all for watching, and if you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with all future content, and I will catch you all in the next one.